Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Americas. Here's a look at what's coming up in today's show. Britain's ambassador to the U.S. stepping down after a leak of his memos provoked a furious reaction from Donald Trump. Venezuela's economic crisis turns into a health crisis as the rising price of medicine pushes more and more people to seek help from religious healers. And New York City is going green. New measures are in place to meet climate goals, but it's the city's iconic skyscrapers that will take the hit. I'm Jeannie Godula. The British ambassador to the U.S. is resigning in the wake of a diplomatic row. Sir Kim Darroch leaving after it was leaked he had called the Trump administration clumsy and inept. Well, that pushed the U.S. president to slam the ambassador, calling him wacky and a pompous fool.
The news sent ripples through the diplomatic community. On Sunday, the Daily Mail published confidential 2017 messages from the British Embassy in Washington, describing President Trump as unstable and inept. The author of the comments? None other than Ambassador Sir Kim Darroch, the UK's most senior representative in the United States. Donald Trump responded on Twitter, referring to the ambassador as a very stupid guy and criticizing Theresa May's handling of the Brexit negotiations. On Wednesday, Darroch officially resigned, noting that the current turmoil made it impossible for him to carry out his role. Theresa May said it was a matter of regret that he felt the need to step down.
Sir Kim has given a lifetime of service to the United Kingdom, and we owe him an enormous debt of gratitude. Good government depends on public servants being able to give full and frank advice. I want all our public servants to have the confidence to be able to do that.
One of the two candidates likely to succeed her as Prime Minister, current Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, said the priority is finding the person responsible for the leak.
We need to find out how it happened, not least to give confidence to our teams all over the world that they can continue to give us their frank assessment. So that's why we're going to have a leak inquiry. I hope we get to the bottom of it, and of course there'll be very serious consequences if and when we find out who's responsible.
President Trump had previously said he would no longer cooperate with Darroch. On Tuesday, the U.S. State Department sought to contain the fallout between the two countries.
We have an incredibly special and strategic relationship with the United Kingdom. That has gone on for quite a long time, and it's bigger than any individual. It's bigger than any government. It's something that has stood the test of time and will continue to do so.
The leak comes at a particularly sensitive time, as London and Washington are negotiating a post-Brexit free trade agreement. And this will remain, without a doubt, a blow to the UK's image.
The political crisis in Venezuela took a step toward resolution this week as talks between the government and the opposition got back underway in Barbados. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and self-declared president and opposition leader Juan Guaido have been locked in a bitter power struggle since January. Preliminary talks were held 2 months ago, but they ended without an agreement. The negotiation comes as Venezuela's ongoing economic crisis is provoking a serious health crisis. The country's seen a surge in medicine prices with severe shortages and the health system going bankrupt. That's pushing more and more people toward non-traditional medicine and healers. Our team on the ground reports.
Nelson is suffering from a gout attack. His left knee is giving him great pain. Like many Venezuelans, rather than a doctor, he's consulting a healer.
With the health system crisis, people come to find me to help them, to prescribe remedies against depression, stress, and digestive problems.
When you go to the hospital, the first thing that you are told is that there is nothing there to treat you. So I come here and I'm prescribed herbs, natural remedies.
Don Paul practices Santeria, a Cuban cult of African origin. For affordable prices, he says he can heal the body and the soul.
I've been blind for 25 years. I speak directly with God and with the spirits of the saints. They help me treat people like him.
These icons represent friendly, allied spirits. On the altar, Dr. José Gregorio Hernández, who died in 1919, holds center stage.
During his lifetime, this holy man accomplished a lot of miracles. He cared for people. He helped me treat cases of tuberculosis, AIDS, and cancer.
This doctor of the poor, to whom people attribute miracles, rests in this church in the center of Caracas. In these times of disease and hunger, his grave is one of the most visited in the country.
Some drugs are just not available. Anticonvulsants in particular. The importing laboratory left the country. I come here on Sundays every time I can. I take my son here to pray and to implore him.
The cult of José Gregorio Hernández is growing, and the Venezuelan church has asked for his canonization. At the Vatican, a commission of experts is looking into the miracles he's believed to have performed.
Also this week, American billionaire Jeffrey Epstein was in court over sex trafficking charges. Those allegations brought to light once again 10 years after he cut a deal to dispose of nearly identical claims. Epstein pleaded not guilty to paying underage girls hundreds of dollars in cash for massages and then molesting them. If convicted, he could be put in prison for 45 years. That case not only sets the stage for a new Me Too-era trial, it's putting more scrutiny on some of Epstein's high-profile contacts like Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump. It could also bring down Trump's labor secretary, Alexander Acosta, the man who oversaw Epstein's original deal while U.S. attorney in Miami. Donald Trump's re-election campaign, meanwhile, is in full swing, and one of the hot-button issues there is the climate. This week, the president held an event to tout his administration's work on the environment, despite having rolled back dozens of regulations intended to fight climate change. New York City, meanwhile, is doing all it can to go green. It's passed a series of bills to meet climate goals, particularly when it comes to the city's skyscrapers. Buildings account for some 70% of New York's greenhouse gas emissions, but now they'll have to significantly slash their carbon emissions starting 2024 or face the consequences. Claire Muffson reports.
Skyscrapers, symbols of New York, the city with the most in the world. But the iconic buildings are also the city's biggest polluters. That's why the mayor is giving them 5 years to cut energy use by 40%. Here on Fifth Avenue, one of the city's most polluting skyscrapers, Trump Tower. It was the perfect stage for Mayor Bill de Blasio's announcement.
We have a message for President Trump and all the other big building owners in New York City. Cut your emissions or we will cut something you really care about. We will take your money.
According to the mayor, Trump's top polluting properties could be fined over $2 million a year if they don't make a change. With some of the city's towers dating back to the 1930s, operators have to get creative to improve efficiency.
Morning, welcome to the Empire State Building.
The Empire State Building, one of the most visited buildings in New York, is a role model. CEO Anthony Malkin showed us around the Art Deco jewel.
67 elevators, all brand new. When they go down, they generate electricity to power other elevators going up.
The building underwent a major renovation in 2005.
This is the old original control panel.
A computer adjusts the air conditioning and natural gas heating systems according to the position of the sun.
When the sun is rising on the east in the summer, there's more cooling needed on the east, but not on the south, north, or west, so everything doesn't have to run full speed.
The changes cost $550 million and allowed the Empire State Building to reduce its emissions by 45%. So is it worth it for other buildings? For David Pennick, who manages the grandiose 53 West 53rd project, it is. Up on the 81st floor of the construction site, a 700 square meter duplex apartment.
It has a spectacular view of Central Park in the front yard.
The building is clad entirely in glass to maximize the 360-degree views of Manhattan. But windows are generally a major source of energy loss.
It's triple glazed, meaning that there's 3 pieces of glass in 2 airspace. We don't believe that's ever been done before on any large-scale building.
Although 80% more expensive than double-glazed windows, it's a worthy investment for Pennick.
We think it sells. We think people want the best. And so we're building the best, we're not cutting corners, and it's attractive to people. There's some interest in saving operating cost.
Those most resistant to change are operators of older buildings, like this one with a roof terrace. New regulations require all roof renovations to include solar panels.
I estimate that I could generate perhaps 6 to 10 kilowatts of electricity from this roof, but that is like less than 10% of the electricity I need to run the building. It's not very realistic.
The buildings still have a few years to comply before fines kick in. But with a high-rise building boom transforming New York's skyline, the city is driving home a message. They've got to be green.
And we'll leave you now with this. The 50th anniversary of the Apollo moon landing is coming up later this month, July 20th, and it's got many people thinking about being an astronaut, even Barbie. The iconic doll is hoping to encourage more girls to consider careers in the space industry with the help of a new role model, Italian astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti. The 42-year-old now has her own Barbie doll in her likeness thanks to a partnership with toy maker Mattel and the European Space Agency. Cristoforetti was the first Italian woman in space. She says she hopes the collaboration will help young girls and boys dream about their future without limits. That's all the time we have for this week's show. Thanks so much for watching. See you again next week on Inside the Americas for all the news from north to south.
From North to South Africa, from Bamako to Nairobi, from Accra to Mogadishu. Bringing you all the political, economic, cultural and social news from Africa for a better insight into an ever-changing continent.
Across Africa, presented by Georgia Calvin-Smith on France 24 and France24.com.